Welcome. My name is Tim Sink. I'm president of the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce, and I welcome you personally to the 99th Annual Leading and Citizen of the Year Award Dinner. We are grateful to many generous sponsors that supported this event this evening. Our presenting sponsor is Merrimack County Savings Bank, and Phil, Emma, and Linda and his team are here tonight, and I just want to thank Merrimack County Savings Bank for stepping up and supporting our event tonight. I did want to recognize some of our other sponsors. Our corporate sponsors this evening are Consolidated Communications, Dartmouth Hitchcock Concord, Eversource Energy Services, Novus Group, and Unitil. Our wine sponsor is Eastern Bank. Our dessert sponsor is Bar Harbor Bank and Trust. Our event sponsors are Bank of America, Divine Millimet, Grappone Automotive Group, the H.L. Turner Group, Liberty Utilities, Mason and Rich, PA, Nathan Wexler and Company, Northeast Delta Dental, Orr and Reno, PA, Sannel Napa, and TD Bank. Our associate sponsors are Cleveland Waters and Bass, McLean, Middleton, NHTI, Concord's Community College, Northway Bank, and People's United Bank. And our supporting sponsors are Concord Hospital, the NEAF Network Organizations, and in-kind sponsors include D. McLeod Inc., Grappone Conference Center, and Speedy Printing Company. Please join me in thanking these generous sponsors. There are programs at your table, and you can take a look, and please bring those with you. Concord is blessed to have some truly talented and giving volunteer leaders, and that's evident when you look around our community. One of those visionary leaders is here to welcome you tonight, and it is my great pleasure to invite to the podium our good friend, the Mayor of the City of Concord, the Honorable Jim Bouley, to give some welcoming remarks. Jim.
Good evening, everyone. And you guys at the bar, you all right? All right. Welcome to another great day in our city. First of all, I think it's important to note that we are celebrating the 100th year of Tim Sink at the Chamber. I think that's great. Congratulations. When he said visionary leader, I leaned over. I said, I think he's talking about you, Mark. It's Mark Cohen, right? So, all right, go ahead. Great golfer. That's what I was saying. Seriously, I want to say I always enjoy this moment because it's to be here in a room full of friends is nice, and to be able to say thank you again this year. I don't think I can say it enough. I don't think that I can emphasize how important the partnership, the chamber members, and the City of Concord, and all that we accomplish together. If you just look around the city, drive down Main Street, drive anywhere around this community, and you see, I think, tremendous progress. And when you look and you say, why, how does that happen? Well, it just doesn't happen. It happens because you, the chamber members, the chamber organization, the board, what you're willing to do and put yourself out there and join with the city team makes a tremendous difference, and it makes the city really work. So thank you for your partnership, number one. Number two is, the Chamber does incredible work in bringing along new leaders, and those leaders that you bring along all year, the city really relies on to fill our boards and committees and run for office. So I can't thank you enough for really bringing those folks along, because it makes a huge difference in our community. So I thank you, and lastly, I will leave you with, it's really an honor to be able to stand up and to be, I think, the first one to here tonight to be able to say congratulations to David Ruedig. I don't think you could have picked a better person. He exemplifies community and all that I think we all tried to strive for, giving back. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. We are really fortunate to have a great relationship with the City of Concord. It doesn't happen in all communities. The chambers and city government are pulling in the same direction, and I'm just very grateful that we do have that here. We have another good friend with us tonight, Jim Milliken, who will be giving our invocation. Jim is another great example of community leadership, one of these people that has helped make Concord so special over the years. Jim had my job here at the Chamber. He was executive for 10 years, or 10 plus, before moving on to the private sector. But he kept in touch with the Chamber. He was later put on the Chamber Board of Directors, became chairman of the board, was recognized as Citizen of the Year some years back. Jim continues to be very active in this community and volunteer in so many different ways. While Jim is not technically a man of the cloth, I have often referred to him as Brother James, and tonight I'm referring to him as Father James. So Jim, would you please come up and do us the honor?
As Jim Bouley said, seriously now, let us remember not only who we are, but also whose we are. And in that spirit, I invite you to join me in a minute of prayer. O God, we acknowledge your presence not only in our places of worship, but also in our daily lives, in the marketplace, in industry, throughout our greater Concord communities, and especially tonight. We give thanks for the opportunity to live in a land of scenic beauty and changing seasons, for the many wonderful natural and human resources here in New Hampshire, and the many multicultural communities that we enjoy. And thanks, we are able to live in a free nation, with free elections, where we can be a guiding light for freedom around the world. Help us all in this time of transition for our nation and the world to seek your divine guidance. Grant us your patience and wisdom to understand that differences don't have to divide, that religion and culture can simply provide different paths to a better understanding of our world and our place in it. Help us all to build bridges of communication, to seek creative partnerships, to be open to new possibilities, and to work together for the good of our community and the larger world. Tonight we give special thanks this evening for having the opportunity to be part of our Chamber of Commerce and its many accomplishments throughout its 99 years of contributions, making our community a better place to live, work, and recreate. Help us to keep those wheels of commerce turning. Guide our leaders in business, industry, and government with wisdom and patience. And help us always to be ever mindful of those in special need, especially the hungry and the homeless, and all who need your healing care. Bless our time together this evening, the meal we're about to receive, and those who have prepared and serve it. All this we ask in the name of the one who calls us all to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Amen.
Thank you, Jim. You've just been promoted from Brother James to Monsignor James. Nicely done. Thank you. Please do enjoy your salad. The main course will be served in a moment, but in order to keep the program moving forward, I would like to invite our outgoing chair Phil Hastings up to the podium. I have had the distinct pleasure of working closely with Phil Hastings for almost a decade. Sorry, I promise I'll stop talking in just a minute. I've worked closely with Phil over the past decade, and especially this past year as he served as chairman. This organization has benefited from some truly outstanding leadership over the years, and Phil is certainly no exception to that. He ran the board meetings and the executive committee meetings in ways that made them both fun and informative. Attendance at our monthly board meetings, we have a board of about 30 people. We usually get 28 to 29 people showing up. I can say this, and a lot of board members in this room tonight, they look forward to coming to the meetings. They're fun, they're informative, and Phil does a great job in running them. He also provides ongoing and invaluable counsel to me throughout the year. Sometimes we have some challenging issues that we have to deal with, and I can always depend on Phil when I called him to give me excellent advice and help me navigate some of those challenging issues. He was and continues to be a great supporter and a great participant in our public affairs initiatives, both state and local government affairs initiatives. Phil used his considerable legal expertise and provided pro bono services that helped us complete a rather complicated real estate transaction when we purchased our space on North Main Street. We have a beautiful visitor information center, and if you haven't been there, I would invite you to come down and check it out. It really is makes a nice statement for the city of Concord and the Concord region. And Phil helped us navigate that and did so through his volunteer support. Phil, you have been an absolute joy to work with. You've helped build a tremendously strong chamber. I've really enjoyed working with you, and I thank you for what you did for this organization over the past 10 years, and especially this past year as chairman of the board. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I take absolutely no credit for attendance at board meetings. They sell themselves, Tim. So, thank you. This year truly has been a great year for the Chamber. I've been very pleased and proud to serve as chair and be part of this great organization. As we move into a new year, it's appropriate to recognize and thank this year's outgoing directors, each of whom have contributed in various ways to our success as an organization. I don't know how many of them are here today. If they are, please stand when I call your name. Jerry Blanchette, Mary Sullivan, Gary Tasker, Cheryl Coletti-Lawson, Heidi Schmidt, Rebecca Bunyard, and Michelle Matuzis. I don't see anybody standing, so they've already, they're gone. Out of sight, out of mind. No, each of those individuals contributed significantly this year. We'll miss their leadership and participation on the board. It's also appropriate at this time to reflect on some of the Chamber's accomplishments over the past year. One of those is our success in getting legislation passed, thanks in part to the city, in partnership with the mayor and other city staff and other folks in this room. We were successful in getting legislation passed to create a commission to study the impact of the state's prison system on the Concord region. And it's been an interesting process to see how that's unfolded, and the impact is truly significant, and I think this will set the stage for some positive developments in the years to come. We've also started a dialogue this year with the Concord School District's administration to make sure that the business community has a voice in the district's plans for replacing or renovating the middle school. We worked with the city leaders on a City Council resolution designed to make Concord less reliant on greenhouse gases in the future. At the same time, we've voiced our support for prudent regional energy projects which will lead to lower energy costs for our members. We participated in the Department of Transportation's planning process. Steve Dupree in particular has been a very vocal part of that group on behalf of the Chamber. We participated in that planning process for the future expansion of Interstate 93 and coordinated with city officials to make sure those plans promote economic development, access to the Merrimack River, safety for vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic, as well as hopefully making our back door look better. We partnered with the city in the Concord Regional Development Council to commission a professional study on the feasibility of creating a business incubator in Concord, and have been following up on that study's recommendations. In addition, we worked with Creative Concord to develop a blog. I don't know if John Simoes is here tonight. He's been instrumental in this. We've worked to, and Byron Champlin as well, to develop a blog promoting Concord as a cultural destination. Check this out on the Chamber's website and on Visit Concord NH Facebook page. None of these successes could have been done without your support. It is, I'm very, very happy to report today that our membership has surpassed 930 members. I believe Joe has a goal to increase that even further, but it's a remarkable achievement for a very active chamber. Thank you. On a personal note, I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served as the Chamber's chair for this past year. I've truly enjoyed working with a very talented and energetic and yes, fun board of directors. It has been a pleasure to work with Tim, Valerie, and the rest of the Chamber staff, as well as the Chamber's many dedicated and hardworking volunteers. They are an outstanding asset to this community. And I feel that we are in really strong hands going forward. Joe Kasper is going to be an excellent chair. He brings energy, enthusiasm, dedication. It's going to be an exciting year for the Chamber under Joe's leadership, and I thank you for stepping up to the plate, Joe. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to thank my colleagues and partners and friends at Cleveland Waters and Bass. They stuck us over there, knowing that they're a rowdy crew. Their support during this year, not that being chair is heavy lifting at all, but they have supported me in this endeavor, and I thank them. And most importantly of all, I thank my wife Brenda for her love, patience, and understanding when I've had to attend morning meetings and afternoon meetings and evening meetings, and has been a source of strength to me, and I couldn't do it without you. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a great evening. I'll see you again.
Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you, Tim.
One more round of applause for Phil. He was just an awesome board chair. Just a great guy. And Brenda, I think about this time last year, I told you not to worry, we wouldn't overburden him, and I'm sorry that I lied to you a little bit about that. All right, one more thing that we'd like to do. I mean, this is our 99th year, and we're coming into our 100th year anniversary. So we wanted to do a little presentation this evening. We wanted to recognize 3 of the founding businesses that helped start the Chamber of Commerce back in 1919. We were a board of trade going back into the 1800s and became a Chamber of Commerce in 1919. and that was a pretty special year for us. I've asked Byron Champlin, City Councilor, Chamber Board member, and unofficial Chamber historian to take a look into this for us and to make these presentations. So I'm going to invite Byron up here to do that now. And I'd like to ask the 3 founding members that we have spoken with to come up and join Byron on the stage, please.
Thank you, Tim. I don't know how I get to be the honorary historian, but so be it. Whatever he says, I do. Our founding year, as Tim mentioned, was 1919, and 1919 was certainly an eventful year. It was a year of transition as the world tried to find a path to normalcy in the wake of a great global war that cost millions of lives and reshaped the political landscape of Europe and the Middle East and indeed the world. In the United States, Congress passed in 1919 the 19th Amendment, appropriately, giving women the right to vote. Yeah. Perhaps a little less moving and exciting, Edsel Ford took control of Ford Motor Company, taking the helm from his father Henry, and the United Parcel Service, now known as UPS, was launched. Manned flight, which was a novelty just 16 years before, saw rapid advances. In May 1919, a U.S. Navy flying boat ended the first transatlantic flight, hopscotching to Europe in 11 days. The following month, 2 British aviators, Alcock and Brown, crossed the Atlantic non-stop in less than 16 hours, a breathtaking achievement at the time. The first scheduled airplane passenger service began in August of 1919 between Paris and London. And KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, today the oldest airline in the world, was founded that October. Events that would loom large in coming decades unfolded in Europe during the year. The Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended World War I and created the League of Nations, was signed in June, only to be rejected by the United States Congress. In Italy, a veteran of that world war named Benito Mussolini founded the Fascist Party, and another veteran named Adolf Hitler joined the obscure 7-member German Workers' Party, which he would transform into the National Socialist or Nazi Party. It was also a year of disasters. In January, 2 million gallons of molasses from a burst storage tank swept through the streets of London. The Volstead Act, creating prohibition, was passed by Congress in October, and in December, the Boston Red Sox came to an agreement on the sale of Babe Ruth to the Yankees. Dark days indeed. Concord in 1919 was experiencing the last throes of the great influenza epidemic. Local businesses were recovering from the effects of wartime rationing and government regulation of almost every aspect of industry, and a virtual cessation of new construction in the city. The big news was that after years of effort, the Boston and Maine Railroad, then the major employer in town, had merged most of its leased lines, including the Concord and Montreal Railroad, indicating prosperity and the future of the railroad in Concord forever, no doubt. At this juncture, leaders of the Concord Board of Trade, as Tim has mentioned, resolved to transform themselves into a Chamber of Commerce. The board received the Certificate of Organization from the Chamber of Commerce of the United States on October 18, 1919, and adopted a constitution and bylaws at an organizational meeting held on December 19th. George A. Foster, a prominent local businessman, was elected the first president of the chamber, which is equivalent to our modern-day chairman, like Joe and Phil. Among the first orders of business on December 19th, and see if this sounds familiar, was to create a committee to review the plant, organization, finances, and the possibilities of the Abbott Downing Truck and Body Company in order to help the financially troubled company make a fresh start. The Chamber also moved to bring the 1920 annual meeting of the New Hampshire State Grange to Concord and to attempt to get Sears and Roebuck Company to move its Littleton, New Hampshire factory to Concord. In the months to come, the Chamber would create a committee that included former World War I combat pilot John Gilbert Wynant, one of the original members of the Chamber, to explore building a municipal airport in Concord. And there was a suggestion that the Chamber put signs and brochures to boost the city in all of the city hotels. At the Chamber's founding, it had 434 individual members who paid dues of $10 per year to be members, as well as 32 sustaining members, including future Governor Wynant, whose annual dues were $100. 3 of those sustaining members were Swenson Granite Works, Page Belting Company, and the Concord Electric Company, firms that have remained Chamber members ever since. That's 99 years for those of you who are challenged in math. So now we would like to present representatives of those companies: Kurt Swenson from Swenson Granite, Mark Cohen from Page Belting, and Cindy Carroll of Unitil, with certificates acknowledging this long and loyal service and membership to the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce.
Right there. 3 right there. Perfect. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Kurt telling us a 3-hour speech was fun.
We're good.
I should mention, Byron referenced George Foster, who was the first chairman of the board of the Chamber of Commerce. And Page Belting was an original founding member. It is highly ironic, or coincidental, I should say, that George Foster was grandfather of Tracy Cohen, Mark Cohen's wife, and I find that hugely coincidental. So there's something kind of interesting there. So thank you, Tracy. Please enjoy your dinner, and we'll have a little program a little later on. So at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce a gentleman who is no stranger to the Concord community. He's been the Director of Corporate Services at Northeast Delta Dental for the past 17 years. He's a graduate of the Leadership Greater Concord program back in 2003. And he served on the steering committee of Leadership Greater Concord for a number of years and is past chair of that committee. For over a decade, he's chaired the Capital Area Student Leadership Program, which is a very unique program to the Chamber. If you don't know about CASEL, it's incredibly cool. It's been around for a long time. It's one of my favorite programs of the Chamber. He's just completed his 4th term as chairman of the Board of Good Life Programs and Activities for Active Adults. He's active with the Lions Club, both on a local and state level. Been involved with the Chamber in chambers for over 20 years, was very active in the Salem Chamber, and then came up to Concord and became a member of the Board of Directors here in Concord, and is now moving into the Chairman of the Board slot. So to give some incoming chairman's remarks, please welcome the new Chairman of the Board of the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce, Joe Kasper.
Good evening, fellow Chamber members, guests, and friends all. You know, this morning I had the honor of being the MC of a very moving breakfast program at Good Life Programs and Activities that recognized veterans from all branches of the military. And last week I was fortunate to attend the dedication of an interactive learning center about our nation's military history at the National Veterans Cemetery out in Boscawen. If you haven't visited the Veterans Cemetery, I urge you to do so. It's right off of exit 17. It's a very humbling experience. And these two events brought to mind that our freedom is not to be taken for granted. Since the formation of our country, millions of men and women have given up their lives and their families to defend that freedom so that we may enjoy those inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so at this time, with Veterans Day being just 4 days from now, and it also being the 100th anniversary of the signing of the 1918 Peace Treaty to end World War I would ask that anyone who has served in the military in any capacity to please stand now and be recognized. Thank you, fellow veterans, for your service to keep our nation safe. I'm honored to be elected your chairman of this great Chamber of Commerce as we celebrate 100 years of service to the greater Concord community this upcoming year. You know, we're fortunate to have a robust and diverse group of business leaders who have agreed to serve on this board, looking out for your best interests and the overall interest of greater Concord. Our outgoing chair, Phil, recognized and thanks the outgoing members of the board earlier this evening who have completed their terms of service. And it's my pleasure to introduce and welcome the following new board members who are joining us on the board for this coming year. And I'll ask that you please stand as I call your name and remain standing. Steve Dupree from the Dupree Companies. Ben Blunt from Concord Coach Lines. Steve Murphy from Associated Grocers. Jeff Trombley from Ledyard Financial. Brenda Litchfield from Concord Commercial Real Estate. Perry Forston, the Superintendent of the Concord School District. Angie Lane from the Concord Young Professionals. And also Executive Director of Red River Theaters. And Donna Rice, our Ambassador Committee Chair. And could I ask all the current members of the Board of Directors to please stand tonight who are here. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors for 2018-2019. As we celebrate 100 years of service to the Greater Concord business communities, it's a good opportunity to reflect on the past and look ahead to our future. As Byron mentioned earlier, we're an outgrowth of the Concord Board of Trade that had been in Concord since the early 1870s. Back in 1919, life in Concord was certainly a lot different than it was today. Byron mentioned some of those things that were happening in 1919. Let me mention a couple of more. The Spanish flu epidemic wound down in the spring of 1919, having swept through the country during the previous year. New Hampshire lost 3,300 lives to that epidemic back then, the worst one that we've ever seen. There was no TV, no computers, no internet back then. Not everybody had a phone. Gas-powered vehicles were just coming into life back then, and they commingled with horses for transportation on the main streets of Concord. Business got done either by personally visiting the business, or by the U.S. mail, or by via telephone, which was gaining popularity back then. And when the workday was done, the doors were closed, the lights went out, and folks went home until the next day. That was life in 1919. Now, change happened slowly as we went through the 20th century. But in the last 35 years, the pace of change happened much more rapidly than in previous years because the PC had come about in 1980. My wife Joanne and I purchased our first stick-built home in the late 1970s off of East Side Drive. Back then, I-393 was under construction. We used to cross-country ski on that highway amidst the ski-mobiles that were flying up and down. Eagle Square and Bicentennial Square had recently been created and updated. And you know, Main Street hadn't really changed. The state employees closed up shop at 4:30 in the afternoon. Concord rolled up the sidewalks, shut off the lights, and went home for the night back then. We used to buy pizzas over at Chugga's Bar and Grill on Loudon Road, where TGI Fridays is today. And you know, Concord Hospital hadn't really changed. Since I was a young boy back in the early 60s and went there for an operation, it was still the same hospital, a couple of buildings when we had our children there back in the mid-1980s. And when you came into Concord from the north, you were greeted by an unsightly mess from the old Concord lumberyard. And if you came by Concord from the south, well, you were greeted by that aromatic odor of the wastewater treatment plant. You remember those days. Joanne and I moved to Hudson in the late 1980s, and when I came back to Concord in 2001 to work at Northeast Delta Dental, change was on the move. The hospital had exploded into a campus, not only into Concord, but also the surrounding towns. The sand pit at the end of Loudon Road became a mall. That old Concord lumberyard had transformed into an office park. And that odor from the wastewater treatment plant was subsiding and is now gone. Today, change is happening in Concord more and more rapidly with each passing year. Main Street's been redeveloped. Downtown Concord is once again becoming a shopping location. Outdoor dining is popular among most of the restaurants here in Concord. You can drive down Main Street on any given evening or weekend, and it's tough to find a parking spot. Buildings that were once condemned, such as the Remy Block, have been renovated into apartments and shops, and more transformations are on the way. Concord is a happening place. So what's on the radar scope for the Chamber in this upcoming 100th year of existence? I'll tell you that we have a lot of momentum going on here in Concord. The old Employment Security Building is going to be redeveloped into shops and more apartments. Store Street is going to be undergoing changes to improve business opportunities. We've got a new skate house being built at White's Park, one of several beautiful parks here in the greater Concord area. You know, we have a number of events to draw folks to our downtown area. From Midnight Merriment to Market Days to the Halloween Howl to Black Ice Pond Hockey, just to name a few. We've got several large pieces of artwork along our Main Street, and in the upcoming year, your Chamber will be involved to continue that public art initiative. You know, Concord doesn't sit on a lake or an ocean, but, you know, if you take a look at where Concord is, we're in a good spot geographically. We're an hour away from the ocean, we're an hour away from the mountains, we're an hour away from Boston. We have 31 scenic walking trails in and around Concord. This is certainly a city that advocates a healthy lifestyle. We've got 10 lodging places to stay in Concord area, from the budget-friendly to the boutique hotels and everything in between. We're going to explore the creation of a regional destination marketing organization or a convention and visitor bureau, one or the other that's going to fit in here, that's going to draw more people into Concord, which will increase traffic to the variety of shops in Concord and the surrounding towns. And another thing we want to do in the upcoming year is build a stronger presence at the state legislature to better serve the needs of the Capital Region's business community. So as you can see, we've got a lot going on in this 100th year of existence. But as you know, things don't happen without funds to support them. We're going to seek grants this coming year to better promote the Capital Region as a destination area. But you know, grants really aren't enough. We do our best to make membership affordable to be a chamber member, and we have a balanced budget with not a lot of extra funds to designate to new projects and initiatives. And so here's where I need your help. We have a robust membership of 930 members, as Phil mentioned earlier tonight. Do you know that we're one of the top 3 chambers in the state for membership and activities? If we can get to 1,000 members over the course of the upcoming year, that will increase the bottom line to allow your chamber to do more for the business community overall, as well as Greater Concord. Now, for this coming year, I've set a goal of 1,000 members in 100 years. No, it's not 1,000 members we got to get, folks. We're looking at 70 members. That's all it's going to take to get this chamber to 1,000 members. So here's where I need your help. I need your help to talk with businesses and organizations that you patronize that might not be members. You're here tonight. You know the members of being a chamber, benefits of being a chamber member. We have well-attended monthly business after hours with over 200 people on average at any monthly business after hours. And if you can't make those, we've got quarterly business before hours for networking events. You can automatically advertise your business on the chamber website, along with posting jobs and events. And that chamber website is seen by thousands of people. So you get that instant boost in exposure. Do you know that the chamber offers over 30 different seminars of every variety and type? Something that can interest most everybody in this room. You can offer discounts to your employees with other member companies called member-to-member discounts. And all of you who are members here tonight have that opportunity to do that. We have a robust visitor center where you can place a rack card or a business card or any other information about your business. We've got thousands of visitors annually from all over the world that come by our visitor center. These are just a few of the selling points of being a member. You know this, and I hope you partake in these benefits. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to open the door to a business or organization that's not a member. Just let Kathy Bacon at the chamber know. It's 224-2508, and she's going to take it from there. Did you know that 85% of the businesses in New Hampshire are what they call mom and pop businesses? Businesses of 20 people or less in a business. For just over $300 a year for a membership here with the chamber, you can utilize the chamber to help your business grow. Now, we'll be celebrating our 100 years of service to the community with subtle changes throughout the year. One of those chambers is our updated logo that's on your program here in front of me on the screens. Well, no, not on, yes, on the screens. You're going to see more changes as the year comes ahead for 100 years of service to the community. So as you can see, Concord is cooking with change, and your chamber is helping to make that change possible. I want to take this opportunity to thank Tom Raffio, our senior management team and board of directors, several of who are here tonight, for the companies of Northeast Delta Dental for giving me their full support to be your board chair for the upcoming year. And you know, I also want to thank you for being a part of this chamber. not only for your support of events like this event tonight, but all the upcoming events in this coming year of our 100th-year anniversary. It's going to be an exciting year ahead for your chamber, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm proud to be your chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joe. Okay, this is an important part of the evening. This is really the capstone where we recognize our outstanding Citizen of the Year. To make the presentation tonight, I've asked Bill Chapman, who is the 2017 award recipient, to come up and do this honor. So Bill, would you please come up and...
Good evening, and thank you all for coming. This is the citation that I've been asked to read. But before I do, I'm mindful that at this hour of night, a wise man once said that thirsty folk want beer, not a lot of words. But like any advice, it can be ignored, and I'm going to do that tonight. Because I have the honor of recognizing a truly outstanding individual. And I think many of you in the room know him. And when I think of David, I think of an individual who always seems to have a gleam in his eye, a smile on his face, a very sunny disposition, unless, of course, he three-putts, which I'm told does not happen very often, which that may be apocryphal. But as I said, it's my pleasure to make this, to present David with this citation. And this is what it says: a prime example of the way Concord citizens have changed the face of the city for the better. Deep commitment to Concord community through his support of numerous nonprofit organizations. A man of impeccable integrity. And people who know David know that that is an absolutely solid statement. A community role model. These are just some of the ways fellow citizens have spoken about David. And it's why he is the recipient of this year's Distinguished Citizen Award. The citation goes on to start with something that I put in my letter, and so I'm just going to get to the quote that I have. David joined the board of Concord Hospital in 2007. And since that time, he has served on or chaired every single committee of the hospital. And that would include finance, quality and patient safety, compensation, planning, investment, governance, and the credentials committee. Bob Stigmeyer, our President and Chief Executive Officer, wrote of David, David is passionate about serving the vulnerable, especially children. He represents the very best qualities of a trustee and a board chair every single day. The commitment to serving children is evident in David's leadership both of the Concord School Board and the New Hampshire Board of Education. As for a member of the chair of the Concord School Board, David's contributions were far-reaching. He established the Bob Silver Award, given annually in recognition of outstanding school staff. As chair of the Capital Facilities Committee, he led a 40-member community task force that planned and executed the entire Concord High School renovation project. He established a no-cut policy at Runlet Middle School, allowing every student that wants to play soccer that opportunity. And for those parents in the room who've had children who have developed maybe not as quickly as other children, the ability to continue to play on a no-cut policy is a very, very terrific opportunity that a lot of kids will benefit from as they get older and mature. David used his considerable financial talents and expertise to guide the board during times of budget caps and cost reductions, and he played a critical role during teacher contract negotiations. U.S. Senator Jean Shaheen praised David's leadership on the New Hampshire Board of Education, stating, "I have been privileged to know and work with David for many years. David's commitment to public service, knowledge about education policy, and ability to build consensus was recognized by Governor Lynch in 2005 when he named David as chair of the board." State Representative Mary Jane Wallner declared, "David has been a true friend to Merrimack Valley Day Care Service for over 40 years. He has somehow developed a sixth sense that alerts him when we need help. He's always there in a pinch and helps us do the hard work." There are numerous other organizations that have benefited by David's generous contribution of time, including the New Hampshire Historical Society, the American Red Cross, the United Way, and Concord Youth Sports. He is equally capable of wielding a gavel, from the chairman's seat to rolling up his sleeves and serving in the trenches. According to former Concord Hospital CEO Mike Green, quote, "I've known David for more than a decade, and I'm not aware of anyone who has worked harder or contributed more to improve the quality of life in the greater Concord community." And coming from Mike Green, that is a real testament. One does not need to look far to see the evidence of the honorees' positive contributions to our community. For these and many other reasons, the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce is proud to recognize David Ruedig as the 2018 Outstanding Citizen of the Year. And if I can add just one personal note, if you're lucky enough and fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work or serve with Dave, take it. You will enjoy it. Please recognize David Ruedig. David, would you come up here?
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you. What a great day. The Dow's up 500 points and everybody tells me what a great guy I am. It can't get any better. Bill, thank you for your, come here. Bill, thank you for your introduction. You know, Bill's on the Concord Hospital board with me. By the way, 2 years in a row for Concord Hospital, not bad. And where we can always count on him to know every detail, to ask every key question, and to draft the key language. Bill, thanks again.
David, thank you.
Thank you. As I was writing this speech, I was very glad that I had some time to get ready. I'm glad I wasn't blindsided by this. And as I was working on it with Mary, my wife Mary, I was reminded of how much support she's given me in the almost 50 years that we've been together. She's been the source of most of my good ideas. She's been a sounding board for issues and problems. She's responsible for the good parts of this speech. And by the way, she told me I had to talk at least 5 minutes, and I think I barely made it. I'm more than a little abashed by this great honor. From my point of view, all of my community activity has been pure pleasure. Grandchildren, I've had lots of fun doing it. I learned a lot about Concord. I was part of many good things. I met and worked with great people, and had lots of fun. I should be giving an award, not receiving it. Thanks to those of you who made it happen. I know that Bobby Siegel, Bobby, where are you? Bobby, and my son Adam were kind of at the point of the spear getting things done, but many others helped. I got lots of congratulations from so many people. Thanks to you all. I want to take a moment to read one very supportive email I got from a coworker. He's a UBS advisor down in Boston. He used to be my boss, so he knows me very well. And I quote, "Wow, Concord is in trouble if this is the man of the year. Remind me to sell those bonds I have that are secured by city revenues." So there you go. Let's see, where was I? Thanks to my family and coworkers who indulged my extracurricular meetings, phone calls, time spent on non-work related projects. Many of you know that my wife Mary was a superb teacher. How many people had kids that had Mary in this room? A lot of hands. She was a great teacher. And she almost always held her tongue when I pontificated about education while knowing a lot less about it than she did. So thank you, Mary. A special thanks. Are Kim and Dawn still here? Would you stand up, please? Kim Masters and Dawn Sela, who have supported me through so much in the office. Thank you very much. They took a lot of phone calls for me. Thanks to my parents and parents-in-law. I promise I won't go any farther back than that. Because they taught me that I was very lucky and that I had an obligation to those who needed it. In fact, Mary's dad, Walt Herstein, was a special inspiration. And I'm wearing one of his bow ties tonight. He was a great community servant. Now my pages are out of order here. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see, that's not that, that's not that. I want to also give thanks to Concord. We moved here in 1977, or 1976, we couldn't remember when we were talking about this, and we felt welcome right away. The community and its strong institutions have served us very well. Daycare, wonderful medical care for 3 generations, a very good education for our kids, strong network of friendships forged on the soccer field and the golf course, in community service, and in the schools. I feel a huge responsibility to be a good steward of our strong community assets. And along the way, I've learned a few things. First of all, at every organization, I've worked with talented and dedicated people, whether they're teachers or nurses or executive directors or Melissa, who takes care of lunches at Concord Hospital for the food service. There are people, great people everywhere. I feel a special respect for teachers, and sometimes they get beat up a little bit in the press. I tried to be an 8th grade social studies teacher. I was a miserable failure. I saw just how hard it is to be a good teacher. It takes skills, persistence, hard work, and love for kids. So my hat's off especially to the great teachers I served with. At Merrimack Valley Daycare Center, that was my first board position, probably in 1977. Mary Jane Wallner, God knows why, took me on the board. I was a hairy graduate student without a lot to offer, but she took me, and I learned that there are kids who really need a lot. We're a very affluent state, I think either the 6th or 7th richest state in the country, but there are still lots of needs. I think about the 2-year-old that I met in Adam's class at Merrimack Valley Daycare Center who didn't have long pants to wear in the coldest part of the winter. Or think about this, the fact that we even need a mental health program for 1 or 2-year-olds. So there are needs. On the school board, I learned that kids are really eager to learn. Class offerings at Concord High were routinely oversubscribed. When you drive by Concord High School and you see a bunch of kids kind of hanging around, that's hard to believe, but it's the truth. And it's especially true about the arts. And speaking of the arts, one of the most surprising things I learned was that we sent many more kids to college on art scholarships than on athletic scholarships. So support the arts, they pay. Yes, okay. At Concord Hospital, and thanks to all the people sitting over there that gave me a PhD course in healthcare. Healthcare is really complicated. Who knew? We're very blessed in Concord to have a high-quality healthcare system, and that system is good enough to attract a steady stream of high-quality people to work in it. It's a huge asset to our area. And since this is a Chamber of Commerce, maybe the final lesson I would take is that community activity is good for business. It's good for your business. You know people, you make connections. It'll help you. It worked for me. So let me close. Am I near 5 minutes yet? Let me close with a couple of general suggestions. Concord is blessed with long-lived, stable, nonprofit organizations. Those institutions and organizations need good stewards to help them continue their good work. They need our support. They need our financial support. They need us to serve on their boards and committees. And finally, our best and rarest natural resource is our young people. I don't need to tell you how old we are. Just look around this room, number one, and look at all the gray hair. If we want to have healthy and well-educated people to be our clients and customers, to teach our children and grandchildren, to take care of us when we're sick and or old, we need to make sure each and every young person is healthy and well-educated, every one. Concord, compared to other states, we do very well, but there are still lots of needs. Whether you support your public schools, whether you support Merrimack Valley Daycare or the Children's Place, whether you support the Charitable Fund for its children's initiatives, or you support the New Hampshire Historical Society for what it does for young people's education, and you wouldn't think of the Historical Society, but I've been there when lots of bright faces come through there. Or whether you support Concord Hospital for its subsidy of prenatal care and mental health treatment for all ages, or pick an organization, I ask you to help. Thank you all very much.
You gotta get the family, right?